Welcome to the Hound Talk podcast. We're here to talk everything hounds, specifically when it comes to big game. Mountain lions, bears, and bobcats. Along with the game we pursue, we're going to talk about the dogs we run and the families behind them. Enjoy some good conversation between houndsmen as we dive into what makes us live this life we live and how it all started. I'm your host, Dustin Clark. This podcast is sponsored by Cold Strike, a houndsman-owned business that was built by a family for families. Now let's get into it. Hey guys, what's going on? We're back with another episode of the Hound Talk podcast, and I've got Max Nichols with me out of Arizona. How you doing, Max?
Good. How about you, buddy?
And I'm doing good. Can't complain too much. Before we get too deep into it, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and we'll go from there.
Like I said, I'm Max Nichols. I'm from here in Arizona. Family's been here quite a little while, well over 100 years now at this point, and we've kind of always been around horses and hounds, and it's just kind of bred into me, so it's still what we're doing. So
Can't complain about that. Most guys that get into it later in life and not from a family that's done it wish they would have been.
Oh
it,
yeah.
it helps out with the learning curve for sure. Because like I didn't get into it till I was 19 years old, and I definitely it was a big learning curve at first till I got in with some of the right people and really I think learned the way I should have. You can learn bad things from certain people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's dang sure I was very fortunate in that aspect. I grew up in a dry ground family that's done it for generations, and I started out hunting with lots of knowledge that most people takes a lifetime to learn.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And that's the kind of stuff, like that's why I do what I do, talking to people and everything like that, because it's just knowledge that, some guy might listen to this and just pick up one little thing that can help change that, you do different than someone else or the same. It just cool to learn how other people do it, where they come from and what they hunt. So
Yeah, no, everybody's kind of got their own style how they do it. It's whatever works for them. If they're successful doing it that way, then it's tip a hat to
yep.
them. So it don't matter how you do it. Some people say I'd rather be lucky than good, and I've dang sure had those
Yeah,
days.
I think we've all had those days. I think when you get to the point that you're good, then you don't get lucky as much. Then when you have those real sweet days that you knew it was luck, then you're like, it's still better to have a little
Yeah, usually
little
you
luck.
get those days, and you're like, crap. Now it's gonna be a month of grinding it out. We got our one handed to us, and now it's down to just getting after
Oh
it.
yeah, exactly. So, and I know this is probably a loaded question because you probably gonna have a long answer for this one. But what are you running for dogs? I'm sure your family's been doing their own thing for quite a few years, but where did it all kind of come from?
The dogs we got right now, they go back to hounds that my dad got whenever he was, shoot, I think he was 14 or
Hmm.
15. And the reason they don't go back to my grandpa's stuff is it was pre-trackers, pre-shockers, all that stuff whenever my grandpa was hunting. And all his dogs actually ended up getting killed on the highway. He lost them one night on a big tom. And so my dad ended up having to start from scratch with
Mm-hmm.
dogs. And so the dogs, right now we've got a Walker Blue Tick Cross that goes back to, shoot, we've got dogs that are directly out of his original stuff. My dad had his original male collected.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we get too far out or start to get away and need a cross, we can actually go back to that original male.
Okay.
So most of our dogs, it may be, say, a female we're reading him back to, it may be his great great granddaughter,
Mm-hmm.
but we're far enough away that we can go back to him without
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
yeah. Yeah, without being
having
too close.
6 eyeballs and 12 legs.
Exactly. So,
So,
with that, what, did he just get some great dogs from somewhere when he started, or what,
he actually the dogs that he ended up with, he found in a catalog, and I forget the dang guy's name, but they were out of a White Cloud male and a Bam Bam
okay.
female. And from there, we've just kind of tinkered and played and different things that we needed, like better feet
Mhm.
or stuff like that. But the walkers that he had originally would, I mean, grind a track out in the dirt like most that you wouldn't think a walker would. Like
Mhm.
they would just, if they needed to put their head down and work through it, they'd do it. And whenever it was time to pick their head up and move it and push it, they'll push it.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So, with that, I'm sure you probably brought in an outcross here or there, but tried to just stay as true to those dogs as you could for the most part.
yeah, no, and we're very selective with our
Yeah.
outcrosses.
Oh, I don't blame you.
It's guys that do what we do and hunt the way we do,
Mhm.
and have the same kind of type of dogs.
Yeah. No, I understand
You
that.
know,
You guys, you're hunting mostly all dry ground and you're hunting off mules most of the time, right?
yeah, it's mules, it's free casted, it's shooting April down here. It may be 50 in the morning, but by 11 o'clock, it's 85
Yeah.
degrees. So our males are about 50, 55 pounds, and our females are 35,
Mhm.
45, 30 to 40 pounds right there. And it's just a smaller type dog. Just they do better in the heat.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. Yeah, I've even found, even with some of them bigger dogs, with guys that I've talked to, that they tend to break down quicker too, as far as their body, the joints, and they just don't last as long.
Yeah, like right now, I got a male down there in the kennels. He's 16 years old, and besides he can't hear, I could hunt him right alongside everything else I got right now. He just is stayed in phenomenal
Hmm.
shape,
Wow.
and he just can't hear him, so he doesn't keep up. He grinds the track out basically on his own
Yeah.
at this point.
Okay. Yeah. So he's still able to move and go. He just doesn't stay with them. Can't hear them. So if they pick it up and move it a little quicker, he's not going to pick his head up and run to them.
Yeah, he can't hear if somebody's ahead of him anymore.
Okay.
So I mean, he still works it. He last winter, hell, at 15 years old, he was at quite a few lion
Yeah.
trees.
That's pretty. I mean, I don't know everything, but that's pretty rare for one that old. I think to be still going that strong for sure.
Yeah, we've had a lot of dogs break down or get old or get cancer right around that 10 to
Hmm.
12. And we've lost a lot of dang dogs right
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I think that seems to kind of be that breaking point until you'll get a few that go before and a few that last after. But that's kind of that medium right there.
Yeah. Usually the ones that go before are the ones you don't
Yeah,
want to go.
exactly. It always works that way. It's never the ones that you're like, it, they decent dog. It's always the good ones that go way too early for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, you're probably getting just. Are you finished up with bears? I know you guys do deer and elk as well. Have you still been into that much, or are you finishing up with bears now?
No, we didn't end up taking any fall bear hunters this year. We had a lot of horn hunts to do. That's shoot since September. That's all we've been doing is hunting dang horn
Yep.
animals. And we wrapped up with our last hunt for horned animals kind of this last
Mm-hmm.
week. I got some friends and family that got some tags and stuff that I may run up and help out, but I'm I'm ready to get back after it with the hounds.
I don't blame you. So with that, I mean, you're probably getting ready to start into lions, but for you, I'm guessing just because I know a little history, do you prefer the lions over the bears?
Yeah,
I figured.
yeah. The lions, dirt lions for me, or it's the challenge. It's you're with the dogs from A to B to
Yep.
Z. You know, essentially whenever they jump the lion, and that's the point where you're not with them.
Yeah.
But besides that, you're working with them, you're helping them through, bad spots, a lose, a road that the dang lion may get out on, walk down, different stuff like that. But so you're very involved with them from, start to finish.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one thing I think I've tried to explain a little over time, but probably not as well said as that. Is that if you really want to experience, the true essence of hounds and hunting hounds, a dirt lion is where you're going to see it. Ye-
Yeah, I mean, and I'm that's not taking anything away from anybody
Yeah,
that's does it in the snow. It's just the way that we've done it and always do it. And I've I hunt the snow, several times a winter. It's productive
yep,
and it's good for the
yeah,
puppies.
exactly. No, I get that. Like I say, I mean, and some guys live where their seasons aren't open enough for dirt and can't experience it and don't have a chance unless they travel. I get that, but to
Yeah.
it's just for the dog work in itself. Hunting a dirt lion is something that's very special. I've been fortunate enough to experience it and to be able to experience it with some guys that I think are you know, up there when it comes to some of the dirt lion hunters out there. And so I've been fortunate enough to see it that way. And it definitely changed my outlook. I had I
Yeah.
had dogs for like 8 years, I think, before I got to see that side of it. And it changed the way I hunt completely.
Yeah. I mean, how I kind of look at it is your snow lion races, at least for me, you find the track, it's dark, you sit there till the sun comes up, you let the dogs out, and you watch them on the tracker and drive around to get close to them to walk into
Yep.
them. And that's kind of how our bear hunts
Yeah,
are.
they're similar. They're gonna hit that good snow track or that bear track, and them dogs are gone, balls to the wall, and you're most likely not going to see them again unless you're up on top of a ridge or something that you can look across the canyon or they cross a road. But like with these dirt lines and that, like you said, you're with them, helping them. You're seeing what's going on, and I think for me it gave me a better idea and perspective of what each dog was doing. You know,
Yeah, that, and you learn a lot of what the lions are doing and how they travel and different stuff like that. Like they do weird stuff. Like just you'll be following them along, and all of a sudden they'll just plop over, and you can see where they were rolling in the dirt for no dang
yep,
reason. Or jump up and they'll climb. You can follow their tracks, and they'll climb a stupid tree
yeah,
and jump out of the tree just playing, or walk down a log.
mm-hmm,
It's the dangest thing.
yeah. No, and that's what like I say, I agree, that just being able to be with the dogs and work that trail from start to finish and be with them almost the whole way until they jump. It's just that's awesome, and you learn a hell of a lot more, I think, than just. But like I say, I hunt the snow, I hunt bears. I don't hunt dirt as much as I would like to, but you know, like you said, not dogging on anyone, but it's definitely a different type of experience to be able to do that and to do it with like people like yourself that have done it for years and years that have that experience and knowledge for sure.
Hmm. No, yeah. I've had some buddies come with me, and they're like, they just almost listen and watch, and they're like, holy crap, I learned a bunch today, and I'm glad it could help them out in their own ventures.
Yeah. Yeah, you just it's about the trail and the dog part of it more than it is just the catch with
Yeah.
that side
Oh,
of it.
100%. Especially in the dirt. You spend a lot more time trailing than you do catching.
That's exactly right. Um so where you're guiding, outfitting, you've done that your whole life, right? Never really
Oh,
done
yeah.
much anything
I
else.
mean, even before I was guiding, I was with dad, and he'd shove me in the frame pack and pack me into lion trees or bear trees or,
Hmm.
elk hunts, deer hunts. I was always there.
So with the dogs, was there ever a moment like when you were younger that you're like, and it could be different. I didn't grow up doing it, but was there a moment that something happened that you were like, God, son of a bitch, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life?
Yeah. Actually, I was playing
Hmm.
sports. So I was doing both, but I was playing sports. And dad guiding, he was gone working.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, it's great you're doing sports. I support you 100%, but I got to go to work. He's like, you got whatever you do, whatever you choose to do, you give it 100%, whether it's hunting, sports, whatever. He's like, but if you choose hunting, you can go with me.
Yep.
He's I was racing BMX. I'd actually won
Mm-hmm.
nationals riding BMX and stuff. And I got back and he gave me that kind of talk about what because I was right there at that age where I was wanting to go with him, but I was also wanting, I was torn.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of made my mind up like, all right, I know what I'm doing. I sold my BMX bikes, I sold my helmets, I got rid of all that stuff, kept a few trophies, and I mean, since then I've been in the saddle.
Yeah.
I ain't been on a bike since.
Yeah, I don't blame you because you do a lot with mules as well as far as kind of doing. Do you have a business with that, right?
Yeah, that's my other
Okay.
business. So I take mules I sell them outright
Mm-hmm.
too here at the house. And I try I mean, I'm no bullshit. If there's something that the mule does and you're here looking at that animal, you're going to know it before you leave here or get here or anything to look at that
Mm-hmm.
animal. And just try and be as transparent with it as I can because I've been in their shoes and I've had some wool pulled over my eyes and been sold some rough
Yeah.
stock, stuff that it ain't worth giving away because it's just going to get somebody
Yep.
hurt. And so I've learned from that, and I kind of know where I want to be with it. But we take mules to sales in Wyoming, and went to the horses, hounds, and mules sale with some mules
Mm-hmm.
this year, and have done pretty
Yeah.
well.
Good.
So sell a lot to outfitters
Mm-hmm.
because I do what they do, and they kind of know they can contact me, and I already know what the deal
Yep.
is.
No, I get that for sure. That's not bad. I mean, most guys, I think you're living somebody's dream for sure.
Yeah,
Riding mules and hunting.
and it's just a everyday deal for me, and I kind of take a step back every now and then and go, I got to look at where I'm at and what I'm doing to go. You know what? I could be working a 9 to 5, working on the weekends, and grinding it out to make it. Whatever way I can
Yep.
to do something that I love to do and that I'm fortunate enough to do for a
Mm-hmm.
living.
I get that for
So,
sure. No, I understand that. That's part of why I do what I do, trying to make it so I can enjoy life a little more and hunt more with my kids and be a part of that for sure. Because that's, I mean, some of the best memories a kid has is growing up,
oh,
going hunting
100%.
with dad and just having a good time. I mean, they'll always remember the sacrifices dad made, but when they're little, they don't think about it like that. They just think dad's gone. So the more you can free up and spend time with them, the better off you're going to be for sure.
Yeah, involve them in why you're gone or what you're doing, and then they kind of understand it a
Yep,
little better.
exactly.
Yeah, I remember I was always so mad being little. Dad would leave. I had
Yep.
school. I hated school. And he'd leave to go on a hunt, had the mules, the dogs, camp. Him and his buddies who helped guide him.
Yep.
So basically, it's like I grew up with five
Yep.
dads on the elk hunts, and then the same guys would be there to help cook and camp on the lion hunts and kind of, whatever he needed help with. And it was it was pretty neat growing up like that. But whenever I had school, I was always so mad watching that trailer pull out of the driveway without me.
I'll bet. That's yeah, I get that for sure. I've had a few texts or phone calls from kids when they're at school and I've been out hunting. What's going on? Did you find anything? What do you got going? Can you come get me?
Yeah,
So, um, let's switch it just a little. So, you really like the dirt lions and that. Do you, with your dogs, do you keep certain dogs separate from bears and lions?
I keep a few,
Do you?
but yeah, and it's just because they're on, and I keep them only
Yeah.
lions. And it's just because they're a fast paced dog enough as is, and they're an exceptional lion dog that I don't need. We got enough bear
Yeah.
dogs.
Yeah. You don't.
He doesn't have to be out there chasing
Yeah, you
bears.
don't need a good dirt dog getting smacked by a bear.
No, heck no. So, and where we hunt bears, we're fortunate that it's about 250,000 acres where we solely are the only ones on there.
Okay.
So we get up there and we drive down the road, we'll rig one bear. And if it's not the bear we're wanting to take a look at in a tree with a client, we by its track, we get out, find its
Hmm.
track, that kind of thing. We'll continue down the road and it may be half mile, maybe 2 miles, but we'll find another bear and it's one that we're interested in. So we go ahead and we let them out, but we don't cold trail bears.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
And I think that's what helps us in the terms of transitioning back from bear hunting to lion hunting
Hmm.
is all our bear races are we dump them and they're going.
Yeah,
Lions, we're on the mules, we hunt a little different, and the dogs seem to know the dang
know
difference.
the difference of when it's time to put their nose down and go to work versus to pick their head up and roll. Yep.
Exactly.
Oh, I get that for sure. So yeah, I
But
was just curious. I've known some guys that like my dogs. I mean, I'm not an outfitter. I don't got 30 plus dogs. I don't know how many between you and your dad, but mine they all go both ways just because I've only got a certain few. But I knew there was a few guys, some outfitters that do that, so I was just curious on that. But
yeah, I'm in until so dad, we got on the res up there doing the bear hunts whenever I was 8 years old.
mhm,
And up until then, this group of dogs had never run a bear ever.
yeah,
They were only lion dogs. We never ran a
yep,
bear. And it was kind of interesting that transition. We picked out a select few to run on bears and we started sicking them on them. And they'd run out there a little ways and turn around and look at us.
yep,
Like, are you sure? Like, this ain't what we're supposed to do.
yeah.
And but they picked it up pretty quick.
Hmm. That's interesting to go from just straight lines switching over to bear. I've never had to experience that. I mean, with young dogs, but young dogs it's different. But old dogs, I think that's a different transition for sure that a lot of people probably have never had to deal with. So
Yeah, yeah, it, it was a new one for us at that point in time.
yeah, they're thinking they're getting set up on trash just to get freaking corrected later on. But
Yeah, and that's exactly why they'd go out and they'd stop and they turn around and look back like, you got that remote in your hand?
exactly.
Are my ears getting ready to get lit on fire for this?
That's exactly right. Um, so with hunting where you're able to, as far as those bears go, are you only allowed to hunt when you have clients for like a harvest, or are you able to go up there and train?
So we'll have bear tags
Okay.
ourselves and we'll go up there and, and the permits are in dad's
Yeah.
name. It's through him, through the guide business. So I can't step foot up there in a hunting sense
Okay.
without him.
Oh, okay.
So we go up there and we're running around and we'll certain Julys we'll go up there just to get out of the dang heat
Yep.
here at the ranch and go play around and shoot. If we turn loose on every bear we rig, sometimes we'll catch 4 or 5 bears a
Wow.
day.
So that definitely that's a thing that's just I mean that's worth its weight in gold there just for, when your dad was able to get on there and to be able to keep it for this long, that's a rare gem nowadays. I'm sure there's a lot of people that love to have that.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's a dang sure special place. I went and hunted a little bit. My cousin's girlfriend had a state land bear
Mhm.
tag, and she's wanting. I'm like, all right, let's go. So we went up there, and I, it made me really appreciate where we're at and how we do it. And
Yep.
it's we ended up with two different people's dogs with our dogs on state land.
Yeah.
It was just a dang
Oh
mess.
yeah, for sure. You don't have the competition to mess around with, other people that dump in on a canyon over next to you, or plus just the
Yeah,
rat race to who's the first one that gets down the road that's in a good canyon and everything else. But
Yeah.
so yeah, that's definitely a, a hell of a plus on that for damn sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
To say the least, huh?
Yeah, to say the least. That's for dang
So are
sure.
you hunting lions on the same piece, or when you're hunting these?
So for lions, we can hunt the entire 1 point, I think it's 1.6 million acres up there,
Okay,
and we can hunt it from one end to the other for
wow,
lions.
okay.
So,
And is that
and there's
are you?
a few other guys that have permits up there as
Mm-hmm.
well. But the place is so big. We've been there almost 20 years, and we've hardly ever run into another person that's actually hunting,
Yeah,
unless it's like at the gas station in town. Then we go our separate
yeah,
ways.
yep. So, but are you
But
still doing some lions outside of the res, or are you doing it all
yeah,
solely in there?
it gets so dang snowy and deep up there that you can't hardly get around.
Okay.
So it we'll hunt up there in the fall. Typically, whenever we have our fall bear hunters,
Mm-hmm.
we'll hunt. We'll be looking for lion tracks at the same
Yep.
time.
Okay.
And we had one guy come out. It was 2 falls ago, I guess and he was there 2 days. We caught 3 lions and we caught, I think it was 4 bears.
Wow.
And he was hooked after that. He rebooked with us for several years. We're like, we promise you, it ain't no, every hunt gonna be like this one.
Yeah.
This is you got a treat here.
Yep. Yeah, that's the kind
And
that he'll come back next time and you'll grind out for 4 days on a lion track and maybe catch one.
yeah, yeah, it was dang sure one of them weeks that we're like, oh man, next week's gonna be grinding it
Hmm.
out.
So with Arizona, like where I just moved here, I'm learning like a lot about the different terrain because Utah had its ups and downs in terrain and stuff, but it's not as diverse as Arizona is. Like up where you're talking about, up in the mountains, that's normal to me. Like I know that type of country well, but you get down here in this desert in the winter time, does it what do you see when it comes to that different terrain? Like we're talking, like up in the mountains, up hunting up high versus down in this low desert and this sand and this cactus country.
Um, you know it all
That's
varies,
what I figured.
especially if you're if in the dry ground sense of things up there, your pine needles don't hold scent very well in the dirt. It's talcum powdery type dirt. So I mean, if you're on the edge of a canyon, rimming around it, you got some rocks and stuff like that. It's in your favor, holding that scent well. You can move a track pretty dang
Hmm.
well. Whereas down here, it varies by
Oh
ridge
yeah.
that you go over in this desert. You may have one ridge where you're like, man, we are smoking this thing. And you all of a sudden your dogs are chirping a little bit. They slow down. You're like, what in the heck happened? And you get over there and you may have switched from, that north side where it's that dirt under them cedar trees. And you go over and all of a sudden it's saguaros and ocotillo bushes and granite.
Yeah.
And in the bottom of that's a sand wash. And you've probably seen it. That sand don't hold scent for nothing.
No.
So that's where it comes into play where you're like, all right, you kind of get around your dogs, you get down there and you try and find that track and let them grind it out where they're at and push it down to you. But if you can find it ahead of them and get it across that tough spot and call them up to you and away you go
Hmm.
again. And certain days, I mean, in the dirt, desert, whatever, from like here down towards Tucson, everything comes into
Yeah.
play. Whether it's super dry, if it's really wet, if that scent's gonna
Hmm.
lift, if you got frost or dew, or I mean, you're always playing against the elements. It's a super game of chess.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I kind of figured, but it's interesting to me the complete difference. Like you're up in that good country, that big timber ponderosa pines and everything else like that, and then you come down here and it's some of the nastiest shit.
Yeah.
You,
And your lions down here in this desert, they move more.
yeah.
They cover more country
Mm,
because they just got to.
yeah.
Up there, they can live in the same spot all year long.
Yeah.
You know, they may move a little bit, like a mile or two or three around and different things, but all they got to do up there, if it's really crappy weather up on top, they just drop off and go down to get out of it.
Yep.
Whereas down here, they shoot these suckers. I think it was U of A had a collared tom, and his radius was like 600 miles he was covering.
Wow. That's insane.
It was some just absurd amount of
Hmm.
miles. And he went from down below Tucson clear up to like right below us and just different times a year, but that's where he would end up just moving. I mean, from the southern part of the state to the central part of the
Yeah.
state.
Yeah, see, I think that's one thing some people don't realize is some of the ground these cats can cover, like when they want to.
Oh yeah.
There's sometimes, when I was hunting in Utah, that there's a certain canyon, certain 2 or 3 canyons. If I go up, there's a female in there, I'm gonna cut her. She's not leaving unless she, for some reason, has a reason to leave. But 9 times out of 10, you can hit those 3 roads and you'll find her. She's a
Hmm.
resident there, and then every once in a while, you'll get one that comes through there that you've never seen before. Because if you run these cats enough, you get a relationship with them. You can, oh, I've caught this one before. Like, she looks familiar. They
Oh
all
yeah.
look a little different, and it's just crazy that you'll think, they all have their own little spot, but they really sometimes don't. You get those rogue ones that'll move through. Like, they had a collared one up in Utah that, and don't quote me on it. The places could be wrong, but it's close. But they collared it somewhere outside of Salt Lake, and she ended up getting killed close to Denver.
Yeah.
Like, she just all of a sudden decided she'd had enough and just went for a walk and made it that damn far before somebody in Denver whacked her.
Yeah. Well, it's like you get these lions that are in and up in Oklahoma
Hmm.
or all these plains states. They're coming from
Oh
somewhere.
yeah,
They get something in mind that makes them, they got to go. They're going.
yeah,
And then, like you said, you got other lions that are like, nope, this is home. This is where I'm going to be.
yep. You know,
We got a female like that. We have her named. She's been a crucial part
yeah,
of the program here because she brings in toms. I
yep,
mean, she just brings them,
yep,
and we consistently can take toms, mature toms, off of. Basically, they end up here checking her
yep.
and waiting for her to come in, and she's been awesome for that.
No, I get that. There was a lion I used to run quite a bit, and man, I knew she was always there, but I hated running her because she's a jumping bitch, and so she,
Hmm.
I mean, she never stay put. I think I got her to stay put in a tree once long enough for me to actually spend some time at the tree. Normally, soon as she sees me, she'd bail, and she'd just keep bailing, and finally, I'd get to where I was far enough away from the truck that I just had enough, and I'd pull dogs and walk back. But I had her take my dogs across a main highway going up over the mountain once, and luckily I had a friend with me that he took off on foot while I went to get the truck, and he was stopping cars as dogs were bailing across the highway.
Oh
And
man,
after that, I finally like, somebody else can have her. I've had enough of her. I mean,
yeah.
she was great for pups when it came to, getting young dogs fired, because she'd just keep jumping and jumping, and them pups would catch on real quick with her instead of,
Hmm.
one that'd stay put up high. But
Yeah, they're them are the ones that climb up way high and lay
yep,
flat, and you got a pup that's been at a couple trees. Them are the ones you got to
yep.
hold their dang head up, and you're like, there it is,
Yeah.
and you wait for it to move, and then all of a sudden they see it and they lose their dang mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like a lot of that country. I was fortunate enough to hunt that most of where I was catching them was in, them low cedar or pinions. So
Oh
them
yeah.
pups could see them way easy. I wasn't hunting in that big ponderosa country all the time. So that definitely helped with the younger dogs for sure.
Yeah, I for young dogs, my favorite thing is for them is catching one in the
Yep.
bluffs or on a rock, and they are face to face with them, and that'll usually flip that switch for
Hmm.
them. It'll take a young started pup to he's
Oh
going.
yeah. So with them young dogs, do you, I mean, and a lot of guys I know try to time their litters, but so if you have, let's say, like a 8, 9 month old pup coming in and you're just starting into bears, are you gonna hold it off and start it on lions first, or are you gonna pour it into bears?
It depends on the pup.
That's what I wondered.
So as you've probably seen, some dogs mature faster than others. We like to start all of our dogs on lions for at least a year, year and a half, and then we'll transition them to
Okay.
bears, just so that they understand the slow aspect of things before we speed them up.
Okay. That makes sense. That way they're not just so damn full of piss and vinegar every time that it's run balls to the wall, and they're overshooting that track and stomping it out ahead of them old dogs and just causing
Yeah, every
problems.
time something barks, they're not just running past them trying to find it. They're actually digging their nose in the dirt. Like, what do you got?
Yeah. Yep. No, I get that because I mean I've seen that even with transitioning dogs from snow to dirt, that a lot of times they're just so hyped up because they're used to that. You drop the tailgate, open them up, and they hit that fresh snow track and it's gone. Whereas a dirt track, you got to really, it's not 100 miles an hour. It's slow and methodical versus the others that's just balls to the wall most of the time, unless it's a colder snow track for sure.
Yeah, frozen
Yeah.
track or your, your, what is it? Your south slopes are melted.
Mm-hmm.
You can haul ass on one side and grind it out on the
Yep.
other, and that's good for them.
Yeah.
It teaches them that fat. Whenever you can move it,
Yeah.
and whenever you got to grind that sucker out.
Yeah. Exactly. Um. So with these pups, where you care more about the lions and especially the dirt aspect of it, what when you're making these crosses, what are you really trying to put into these dogs over everything else? What versus like nose or brains? I mean, feet's always in it. Conformation is definitely a thing for sure. But what are you, between you and your dad? What are you really like? Why are you making this cross that you're making?
And it's pretty good. Just be in the sense of you get some of the pups that are extremely smart and think and really will. Okay, we lost it here and I need to go find it. It's out. We were going this direction. I'm gonna go and make 100-yard loop and try and find this thing. And they really think about it. And the best example is we had a dog named Doc and his brother Nookie. And Nookie was basically a kamikaze dog. He would, if there's a brick wall there, he was gonna blow through the brick wall to get to the line. Whereas his brother Doc would be like, "Why am I gonna do that? I can go over here and around the brick wall and end up over there in the same
Yeah.
situation." But it's just you kind of get both them dogs, and in different situations, you need dogs that are gonna run through that brick
Hmm.
wall. And in other situations, you need them dogs that are really gonna think out the situation and push it or move it or figure, okay, we came to a waterfall. All right, I can go around the waterfall here
Yeah.
and get on top of that waterfall or a bluff and
Yep.
leave. And that's the male that we just made across, and it's kind of breeding the best of the best. I mean, that's
Hmm.
kind of what you try and do.
Yeah.
And they're both really smart dogs, but she throws pups that, and she's smart, but she's kind of one of those like just got a screw loose for
Yeah.
it. And Gus, he's the dog that you walk up to that waterfall or that bluff, he's gonna go, okay, it ends over there. I'm gonna go around
Yep.
it, and she's gonna climb through it.
Hmm.
and they both just they're some of the best right now.
Yeah,
So that's just the cross that we made. They got good feet, good mind about them. They handle easy. They mind you. They're not.
yeah.
You know.
Nope, I get it. Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just picking. I mean, it sounds like you kind of breed one end of the spectrum to the other to kind of get that mix, and it probably throws both on both in each litter as it comes out. Kind of. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You get your dogs that are going to run through the brick wall, and you get your dogs that are going to go around
Yep.
it.
Yep. More of that drive and then brains kind of type thing.
Yeah.
Yep. I get.
And you could have in that same litter, you have one pup that is colder nosed than its full
Yeah.
sibling,
Oh yeah.
and but that's kind of we try and breed for the nose and the
Yep.
brains, and throw that little bit of crazy.
Yeah.
You gotta have a little bit of that.
Yep. Um,
But
so with starting out with the walkers so far back, has it kept the tree consistent in the dogs? Does that make sense? Do you see where like any like trait has kind of slowed?
like a throwback pup almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've dang sure seen that. So it was kind of interesting. Our walkers would throw a high tan pup.
Okay.
So we still have high tans and walkers, and we've got them dogs with the blue kind of ticky looking red and blue spots up their
Yep.
legs. And it's funny, we had a female, one of our outcrosses, and she came from Larry
Hmm.
Hendricks, and she had speckled ears. And we'll still end up with pups with speckled ears.
Oh,
And it's been 15 years.
that seems like one trait that just like for some reason sticks. Like when it comes to the color and stuff like that, like 'cause like I have two dogs, that have that speckled, and it's coming from the Meekums, and he's got one dog right now that he started with that he's kind of bred that just throws it, and now everything else is down the line is throwing it, and it's crazy how that one trait will just sit and stick, and then 2 years later after you get away from it, it'll come right back.
Yeah, you may not have it for two litters, and then you got your third litter is speckled eared
Yeah,
pups.
exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how the pups come out too, whether they're blue ticky or
Hmm.
they're walkery or they look like a high tan. We've thrown red
Yeah.
dogs, like almost straight red dogs with a real light kind of like 5 o'clock shadow saddle that goes through
Hmm.
them. But they're all related. They all go back to the same original dogs that were
Yeah,
there.
yeah. That's what's crazy is you get a lot guys like yourself that have been breeding their own lines and stuff for so many years, and they'll have a litter, and it's like every damn color of the rainbow comes out, but it's
Yeah,
all same dogs.
little bit of that red, white, and
Yeah,
blue comes out.
exactly, for sure. So, uh,
But it's fun. I don't know what I'd do if I wasn't doing what
oh yeah,
or
yeah. That's
it.
one thing I've talked with a lot of people. It when people get into it, you learn real quick whether you're going to stay with this for the rest of your life or if it's just a hobby that you'll pass on sooner or later.
Yeah.
And I it's for so many people it's not a hobby. It becomes just a way of life that becomes ingrained into them that you almost can't get enough. Like for me,
Hmm.
I've had.
Well, it's the most expensive drug you can do is
Oh,
running
holy
dogs.
heck, you're not a kid. I've had them 17 years, and once I really started getting into it, I gave up deer and elk hunting. The only time I would
Hmm.
do it was for other people. It just to me it wasn't worth it anymore. If I had the chance, I'd rather go run my dogs.
That's how I am. I mean, I enjoy deer hunting or elk hunting when I'm doing it, but
Yep.
while I'm doing it, I'd rather be out there yelling at a puppy for doing something wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Other, or just following them through the hills. It's the places that you'll follow them stinking dogs to would amaze most
Oh
people.
yeah. And while you're doing it, you're cussing yourself wondering why the hell you do it, and then you get home and
And you do it again the
you
next
know
day.
damn well you're going to do it the next
Yeah.
day. Whether you caught that lion or bear at the end of that shitty day or not, you're going to go try again the next day. Like
Oh yeah.
it just feeds, and
Well, it's like the trucks and the trailers and everything that goes into it. Every truck we got here's got a set of dog boxes built in
yep,
it. The trailers we've got where we can in the tack compartments on our tongue pools, we've got where we can clip some dogs in
yep,
there. Or our gooseneck trailer has dog boxes built into the dang
yep,
thing. It just becomes like we were elk hunting, but going to elk camp is a dang chore. It's not just taking a trailer and a buggy. We've got a trailer, a buggy, 15 to 18 dog
yep.
houses. I mean, dog food, bowls, water. I mean,
It is.
the amount of stuff that goes into it, I think most people don't realize.
No, they don't, and your side of it versus the guy that just hunts out of the truck off foot is very different. People don't see that, and that's what I've been fortunate enough to see both sides. But a lot of people just think, oh, they just go ride the mules, but they don't realize all the time I mean, mules are mules, and a good hunting mule is a whole different world than just the
Hmm.
regular mule. That it's different.
Oh yeah, them. Yeah, they're a whole different breed. Because I tell you, a lot of them dogs that are running around their feet are more expensive than they were. So
Exactly.
they got to be able to put up with dumb puppies running in the back of their feet and under them and blowing in and out of the brush and,
Yep.
putting a lion hide on the back of them or whatever it may
Oh
be.
yeah.
And, you know, they're dang sure hard to come by. It's with the mule selling side of things, it's hard to sell some of them mules that I know
Yep.
what they are, but it's the business I'm in. And we keep a few that are here. They're for the guide business.
Yeah.
That's what they do. But the ones that come and go, that I'm like, just so hard to let some of them dang mules go,
Yep.
just because I know they'd run through fire if I pointed them into
Oh
it.
yeah. And that's just goes the same with like a good dog. Not everybody sells dogs, but every once in a while you have to sell one or two, and it's hard to whether you're just making room for an upcoming litter that you're really excited about, or something comes up and you need to sell a dog. It's hard to sell them good ones, just like a good meal, because you know what they're capable of for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, and how few and far between that type of animal is.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not one you can just drive down the road and make another one in 2 months. That dog's 6, 7, 8 years in the making, or that mule's 10, 12, 15 years in the making to get it where it's at, and people don't realize that.
And yeah, and I think that's why people like the mules that I'm selling is most of these animals I got, it's not like I have them for 10 days and I'm selling
Yeah.
them. They're here, they're getting put through the ringer, and they're buying something that I'm proud to sell
Yeah.
and would be proud to call my own. And I think that's kind of a comfortability factor with them. It's they know what they
Yep.
get because I'm not going to sell them something that ain't going to match them or work for them.
Yep.
And it'd be the same thing. Like we don't sell very many dogs.
Yeah.
We sell a few over the years and puppies, that kind of thing. But it's if I'm not proud to have it in my yard, it ain't going nowhere
Yeah. No,
until it's ready or to that point.
I get that. Yeah, and that's a thing I wish a lot of people would learn. you
Yeah.
know, but well, as we're getting a little closer, I got one more thing. I just like to ask, is there like a hunt over the years that has really stuck out to you, or like a dog that's just been, that once in a lifetime dog? Either one.
Mm, I mean, and always kind of you think about that, the stories and things, and I got there's a lot of them, but a lot of messes, a lot of different stuff like that. But on the dog side of things, the one that for me sticks out is kind of the one whenever I was 16 and I finally could go and do it and take them on my own. We had a dog named Freckles,
Mhm.
and he was honest as the day is long. And I was out there, I was without dad, and that was him and a female named Joe, and I took some other pups that I would hunt with them, trying to just back then kind of get my own thing put together.
Yep.
And because I'd always before then if I was hunting dogs, I had to go with dad
Yep.
because I mean he had the wheels. So I remember that the first lion I caught without him was with those dogs. That was
Hmm.
the first lion I went out and caught on my own. And, I mean, the ones that I'd caught here around the ranch prior to that were, we'd known that they were here. And I'd call him, hey, I found a track. I was on a four-wheeler or the buggy or whatever. But I put everything in the truck. I left. I went out. It was me and the
Yep.
dogs. And it was Freckles, Joe, and I had a couple pups with me at the time. And it was those dogs for me, they kind of just always stick out just because of
Yeah.
they may not have been they were good dogs, but they may not have been world record superstars, but they dang sure would get you from point A to point B and catch you alone.
Hmm.
And those were kind of the ones that I personally started out with.
Yep. No,
But
I get that. There's something to be said about just, I mean, even like a first time houndsman or anything, but catching that first one on your own, whether you're taking dad's dogs and hunting by yourself for the very first time, or you've just got into it, started a few pups and hunted with buddies for a few years, and then you finally take your own dogs and go catch that first lion by yourself, is just that's something that you'll never forget ever.
yeah, and the kind of the interesting part about that lion was whenever I sent the picture to dad, he said, I know that rock. And he sent me a picture back. And about 20 years prior,
Yeah,
he had a lion caught on that same damn rock.
that's crazy.
I mean, everything. The trees were they were just big old oak trees,
Hmm.
so they'll live 100 years. And everything was the same, just the dogs were different and it was a different lion.
Yep.
And I got them two pictures side by side in a photo album here at the house because it's pretty neat.
Yep. That's pretty cool.
But
That's
yeah,
Yeah, that's like I say, that's something you'll never forget. Always think about every once in a while when you go back and look at things, and just yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a good one to call it on there. That's pretty special. So well, I sure appreciate you for hopping on with me, Max. It's been a blast. I've learned a lot. So
oh yeah, no, thanks for having me. It was fun. I always enjoy sitting here and BSing and talking, and it's just you
yeah, you
know.
can't go wrong BSing and talking hound dogs. That's for damn sure. Hey guys, with it being November, I wanted to pop on here real quick and just kind of let you know what's going on with Cold Strike. We do have Black Friday deals going on, and also for the month of November, we are giving away a TT25 collar or TT15, either choice. If you win, you get to choose. Details are over on our Instagram. I don't think it's one you're going to want to miss, so just wanted to hop in real quick and tell you about that, and say thanks again for all your support. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Hound Talk podcast with the Cold Strike crew. If you like what we're doing, like, subscribe, give us a review. It means a lot to us. Thank you for your support. Now go load them dogs and take the kid hunting.